In the heart of the Middle East lies a region perpetually teetering on the edge of conflict. The fragile relationship between Israel and Lebanon is defined by decades of tension, his grievances, and the looming shadow of war. The question haunting policymakers, analysts, citizens alike is whether a full-scale war between these nations is inevitable. To comprehend the depth of this crisis, we must navigate the complex historical backdrop, assess the triggers that spark violence, and examine the catastrophic consequences of such a confrontation. The Israel-Lebanon conflict is not a recent phenomenon, its roots run deep into the fabric of modern Middle Eastern history. It all began with the establishment of Israel in 1948, an event that led to widespread displacement and regional instability. Lebanon, a country with a delicate religious and political factions, found itself directly impacted. The 1982 Lebanon War, when Israel launched a military invasion to oust the Palestinian Liberation Organization, which had been using Lebanese territory for its. This war marked the rise of Hezbollah, a Shiite militant and political group formed with the support of Iran to resist Israeli occupation. Hezbollah's evolution from a guerrilla group into one of the most formidable non-state military actors in the world has deeply influenced the dynamics. Israel and Lebanon. Today, Hezbollah is not just a Lebanese entity but a key player in the broader regional power struggle, acting as an arm of Iran's influence in the Middle East. Its arsenal, estimated to include over 100,000 rockets, is a constant threat to Israel. Entrenchment in Lebanese politics makes it difficult for the Lebanese government to act independently of its influence. In recent years, the border between Israel and Lebanon has become one of the most volatile flashpoints in the region. The situation is marked by frequent skirmishes, including cross-border shelling, drone incursions, and covert operations. The tension is further inflammatory rhetoric from both sides, with Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah threats against Israel and Israeli officials responding in kind. This war of words keeps the region in a state of heightened alert, where any miscalculation could lead to an escalation. Several factors could act as triggers for a full-scale war. First and foremost is the territorial dispute over the Sheba Farms, a small strip of land at the intersection of Lebanon, Israel, and Syria. Both Israel and Lebanon claim sovereignty over this area, and it has been the site of numerous clashes over the years. Although the Sheba Farms might appear insignificant in size, its symbolic value makes it a potent flashpoint. Critical factor is the competition over natural resources. The discovery of offshore gas reserves in the eastern Mediterranean has added a new layer of complexity to the conflict. Both nations have overlapping claims to maritime territories rich in natural gas, making this a potential economic battleground. Energy resources are not just about revenue, they represent leverage in a region where power dynamics are constantly shifting. The most significant factor, however, is the role of external powers. Hezbollah's close ties with Iran mean that any conflict involving the group is likely to draw in Tehran, a major adversary of Israel. On the other hand, Israel enjoys strong support from the United States, which provides military aid and political backing. The involvement of these global powers creates a proxy dimension to the Israel-Lebanon tensions, making the stakes even higher. If war does erupt, the consequences would be catastrophic for both nations. Lebanon, already grappling with one of the worst economic crises in modern history, would face devastation on an unprecedented scale. Its infrastructure, weakened by years of neglect and corruption, ill-equipped to withstand the impact of a large-scale conflict. Civilian casualties would likely be for Israel. While its military strength is unmatched in the region, a war with Hezbollah would pose unique challenges. Unlike traditional armies, Hezbollah operates as a decentralized, adaptive guerrilla force. Its missile capabilities could target major Israeli cities. Significant civilian casualties and economic disruption, even with Israel's like the Iron Dome, the psychological toll of such an attack would be profound, leaving scars on its population for years to come. The effects of a war between Israel and Lebanon would extend far beyond their borders. The Middle East, already a volatile region, would face further destabilization. Countries like Syria and Jordan could be drawn into the conflict, either directly or through the flow of refugees and the spread of violence. Globally, the conflict could disrupt energy markets, as the Eastern Mediterranean is an emerging hub for natural gas production. The international community would also face mounting pressure to intervene, whether through peacekeeping missions or humanitarian. Despite the grim outlook, war is not an inevitability. Diplomatic efforts, though fraught with challenges, remain a viable path to de-escalation. International mediators, nations and major powers like the United States and France, have a critical role to play in fostering dialogue between the two nations. Confidence-building measures, such as demilitarized zones or joint economic ventures in disputed areas, could reduce tensions over time. Furthermore, addressing the underlying issues within Lebanon is essential for strengthening the Lebanese state and reducing Hezbollah's dominance would empower the government to make independent decisions that prioritize national interests over regional. Must navigate its security concerns with a focus on sustainable solutions rather than short-term military victories. Ultimately, the question of whether war is inevitable depends on the choices made by leaders on both sides. Will they prioritize dialogue over aggression? Will they seek compromise, confrontation? The answers to these questions will shape the future of not just Israel and Lebanon but the entire Middle East. As we stand at this critical juncture, one thing is certain: the stakes could not be higher. The path toward peace is narrow and fraught with obstacles, but it is a path worth pursuing for the sake of the millions who call this region home, and for the stability of the global order. Every effort must be made to prevent another war in the Middle East. Let us hope that wisdom and restraint prevail over the drums of war.